It's that time again where we randomly rank 10 creatures for a map, and this time it's for Aberration, seeing what's the best of the best and hoping we don't get an aberrant dodo at first place. Okay, let's go. What are we going to get? Is it going to be something worth talking about? A creature you're going to want to tame? A creature worth grabbing on Aberration? It is a giant bee. A bee. Everybody loves a bee. A pretty rare thing to find an Aberration, seemingly weirdly, on the ASA version of Aberration. On ASE, pretty simple to find, but ASA, you're going to have a bit of a pain looking for these, most notably found around the redwood-looking trees around Fertile Lake. But like most maps, honey is a much-needed resource for plenty of reasons. And an Aberration is something you're going to need if you want to attempt to tame a roll rat. With some arguments surrounding how to tame one, of course you're going to need to destroy the beehive first and hope a giant bee is hiding within. Don't forget, a gene scanner is going to help you find one of these, and with rare flowers all you've got to do is passively feed one, though sadly it's not as simple as that because it will spawn a bunch of mini bees coming at you and sting you till you're dead. Most people believe wearing a ghillie suit and bug repellent is the way to ensure you can passively get one and tame one, but honestly with even slightly boosted rates, if you're quick enough you can run at one full force and just spam the passive feed interaction until you finally tamed one. Of course, you're going to need to turn it into a beehive if you want to generate honey with this thing, and you're going to need rare flowers to keep it topped up, or risk it turning back into a giant bee and starving to death. As well as the mention of it being useful for roll rats, it's also useful for taming dire bears, megatheriums, and leopleurodons if you wish to, though you're not going to find them on this map, with it being an important ingredient on top for sweet veggie cakes and extraordinary kibble. Though with a rapid spawn timer, you might want to get some fishing rods handy and equip them in a fishing rod to prevent them from spoiling, and, well, in a fishing rod can actually get you the best loot possible from high-end white fish. Of course, you can farm honey with a bear and even by hand if you really choose to, but if you want to get honey in the bucket load and get honey pretty easy, passively generated for you, you're gonna want to tame a bee on Aberration without a doubt. It's a definite requirement for progression on Aberration. So does that mean it's something you definitely need to tame? I think it is. I think it's up there as one creature you're gonna want to prioritize over everything else. Obviously not, but it's definitely not a creature you're gonna overlook. I'm gonna safely put this one in at sixth place. I feel like there's going to be much better creatures to talk about here. Obviously, this isn't a creature you're going to use to attack anything, but it is very much a good utility creature. So in at number 6, it goes. Next up, is it going to be a creature you're going to want to actually ride this time? Something that's useful in combat, something that's useful for traversing the map. It's going to be a... hello there, megalania, it would seem. Megalania, an interesting choice for Aberration, seeing that there wasn't one for ASE Aberration, the aberrant variant of the wall-climbing, rabies-carrying cave creature that in ASE didn't arrive to ARK officially until Fjorda, but here it is brought in with Aberration, and I mean, I'm not a massive fan of the Megalania. I think obviously its climbing ability, its wall-climbing ability is a great handy thing to have for some areas and perhaps much smaller caves, but there isn't actually that many caves to explore on Aberration, so is it an absolute necessity for that? I don't know. When you know, of course, there's a rock drake around the corner that does wall climbing much better and allows you to glide around and leap and attach yourself to anywhere and everywhere, as well as all of the abilities that has. Its ability to infect rabies, constantly damaging both health and stamina, is kind of let down by its pretty poor base damage. It's not really a creature you're going to want to turn to in the Sign of Chaos. So a bit of a difficult one for me to place here. I don't see many people using these. I don't see many people taming these. I'm not the biggest fan of a Megalania, and we know there's a much better wall climber on the map, though I guess Caves clinches it a little bit, although I don't think it's enough. But I'm sure there's going to be something that's worse than a Megalania, so I'm going to drop this in at number 9. Okay, next up. What is it? Is it going to be the other wall climber? Is it going to be something that you definitely want on Aberration? Well, it turns out it's going to be the very handy and, in fact, an Aberration, possibly a good alternative to aircon. Think about that. Otters! Here they are on this map. Because with the aberrant variants that you've got to passively tame by force feeding them dead fish, slapping one on your shoulders, you'll find a massive fortitude boost, improving your resilience to heat and cold. And the more you level one in melee, the more resistant to the elements you're gonna be. And with that, of course, the ability to incubate any fertilized egg. And that means the very aircon expensively needed rock drake eggs, needing quite a few if you intend to hatch them and get a few otters with high melee. Jobs are good. As well as it being able to grant you some silica pearls and black pearls pretty early on, kind of useful for that if you send them to kill some fish. Its biggest desire is its ability to carry artifacts. It's the only creature in ARK that you can actually store as many artifacts as you wish on that. And with at least 2 of the artifact caves on Aberration being difficult ones to navigate, if on your own, having one of these handy is very useful, because that means you're going to get at least 2 artifacts back home on your artifact cave traversing. And in fact, the aberrant variant offers even more insulation over the normal otter, so especially for those very cold surface drop runs sometimes at night, although you'd really want a light pet instead, could be a viable choice if you need to keep yourself wrapped up and warm. Don't forget about that 50% weight reduction as a backpack too. So another useful creature, though there are more shoulder mount priorities over this one. So normally I might have ranked this a bit higher, but because I know there's other shoulder mounts that are worth more to tame and keep around your neck, I can't rank it too high, though everyone loves an otter, so I think I'm going to safely put it in at 7th place. Is that a good slot? I don't know. But next up, what have we got now? Is it an actual rideable creature that we're going to want to ride on Aberration? Possibly. No. It's an aberrant dimorph. Hey, I tell you what, aberrant dimorphs in particular are definitely a fan favorite when it comes to caves. Heavily underrated. If you've got a bunch of these, you will steamroll any and every cave without fail. A reasonably pretty easy early game tame. Don't forget Ebola to immobilize one with ease and just make sure it's got no friends around you that's going to aggro on you when attempting to knock one out. Genuinely, in a flock, these will do some insane damage. If you want to steamroll any artifact cave, get a bunch of these with you, and I promise you it will be the most fun running through a cave full of creatures. And that's about it. It is a game of numbers with this, which I guess you could say for any creature, but being a flyer and one of the rare flyers you can actually use on Aberration. Not forgetting it's 50% off weight on top, but again, they're shoulder pets, man. There's got to be some shoulder pets that are going to drop on this list with that light source on them. Of course, that's what we're all waiting for. I'm going to safely put this one in at 5th place and hope some good stuff comes in soon. Come on, surely we're going to get some bigger and better creatures at some point. It's only a matter of time. It's an Anky. I'll take it. You need it. You want it. If you want to start farming metal, Anky is the way. And of course, an Aberration coupled with a certain other creature is a very, very valuable tame indeed. A bit of a pain to tame without regular kibble. Everyone should know by now this is the go-to creature if you intend to farm metal, and with this 85% weight on top of that, it's going to farm metal better than any creature you can find on Aberration. Though not forgetting, it's a great choice if you intend to farm crystal, obsidian and flint on top. It's also a pretty underestimated fighter with a whopping great big hit with that tail of his, and with a bit of health on top actually is a viable choice to go around and explore, although it's a bit on the slow side. But pairing it up with a Karkinos, getting 2 of them in each claw, you're going to go to town with these, especially in certain metal-rich areas. An absolute must to tame on this map if you intend to get metal, so it needs a better spot than at least 5th place. So I'm going to drop it in at 4th, feeling like we've got to get something surely better than this. But either way, you definitely want to tame yourself an Anky on this map. And then next up, come on, give me the big ones, give me the big hitters. There's a bunch out there. We know there is. And, oh, an interesting choice, the aberrant fasola. Who knew? This came in as a bit of a surprise to Aberration, a late addition, as it were. Nobody saw this one. And an initially weird choice at that when we found out they were being added to the ASA version of the map. With the unique timing process of needing to blow one out of its little hidey hole, mounting it and then running it into any rock or metal node that you can, with these only being on the surface and therefore only able to be tamed at night time, initially it can feel like an absolute no-no, with reapers of course all spread across the surfaces too. But once understanding there's certain night cycles where reapers won't come out of the ground past 530 on a 90% night cycle. Whatever level you find, you're going to quickly realize these are easy to tame on Aberration versus Scorched Earth due to the plentiful amount of resources arranged to steer this thing into. Incredibly fast when moving underground with a range of different abilities up its sleeve, from a tail whip that temporarily stuns creatures, a sandstorm that pulls creatures and players underground, reducing their speed, with its bite attack applying an armor corrode effect, increasing its damage by 2.5% and can be stacked up to 10 times, as well as decreasing the target's damage down to 25%. Not forgetting its reflective damage on anything that hits it, it seems like it would be a great creature to tame, though in practice I've not found this to be a real good fighter versus using other creatures. I don't know what it is about the fasolasuchus. I think it's a cool looking creature. I think it's great for mobility. I think it's got some great tricks up its sleeve, but I always find myself going to other creatures instead. And well, boss wise, I didn't have any great experiences using these versus bosses. So, and not forgetting, this is the best creature if you intend to farm flint. It really does get bucket loads of the stuff in quick succession. I mean, it's a better creature than anything I've got on this list so far. It's not a first place runner, but it's definitely a worthy, deserving creature to tame over what we've got so far. So, gonna drop it in at third place and hope we get something better. Come on. What's next? Come on. Where's them winners? There's loads of them there. I know there is. Give us one. Show us. Show and tell time. What is it? It's a blooming scorpion. Oh, man. Hey, I mean, you know, Scorpion. Once upon a time, they were good. They were great to knock out and use for creatures. In fact, were the perfect choice, apparently, to tame Quetzals way back in the early years of ARK. But since then, does anyone really tame these? I don't think so. A great source for chitin if you intend to farm that, and you're probably going to need to because you've got to craft your paste on Aberration. It's just not something anyone goes for anymore. It's really rapid at attacking things, and yeah, it can potentially knock things out and even knock players out if you want to do some trolling with a Scorpion, but it's not very tanky. It's not the hardest hitter in the world. I don't think it's anything you're going to prioritize over other creatures on Aberration. There's plenty more things worth taming over these. Once upon a time was something you had to tame in order to work your way through the kibble tree, but nowadays, yeah, it's a cave creature you run into and you gotta kill. Pretty much. So for that, I think it deserves 10th place. I don't think there's anything that's going to be worse than this. Fingers crossed there's not. I really need some winners now. Come on. What are we going to get? Surely. Come on. We got 2 slots at the top I need to fill and 1 pretty low down the bottom. And we're going to get this time a... Hey! At least an aberrant exclusive creature, the Roll Rats. Something a lot of people don't like, but I firmly feel this is a heavily underrated creature, at least for PvP, but you know, with some cool PvE abilities on top. With the face only a mother could love, taming one, all you need is some honey, and conveniently, you know, we talked about the bee earlier, simply throwing it out whenever a roll rat digs underground and making sure you interact with it when it pops up to eat said honey. But even encountering one on Aberration can grant you some early game resources you might struggle to find elsewhere starting out. Gems, green, red and blue, depending on where the roll rat is. Every time it digs underground and pops out, it's going to spurt out a few gems, rewarding you to obtain these, but make sure you run for your life because you're going to aggro the roll rat if you intend to grab these. Ridden, it's possibly the best choice for farming wood on Aberration, with it having an 80% weight reduction as well as harvesting a wealth in quick succession. But hitting that right trigger, you're going to find these to be one of the fastest creatures in ARK by far. Sadly, the saddle does take damage and will eventually be destroyed upon use, but if you can find a decent saddle for this thing, pump it high in health, bit of stam on top of that, you're going to find this thing travel far and wide quicker than most. And on PvP has the ability to break stone structures and metal doors, and when I last checked, these can also take out auto turrets. Honestly, throw one of these at a turret wall full of autos and prepare to be amazed. It is possibly one of the most fun things you can do. Of course, throwing one at a turret wall, you're probably bound to lose the thing, so make sure you've bred a bunch and you've got a few saddles handy. But if on PvP and the scenario presents itself to you, you've got to try this out. roll a roll rat at a turret wall if you can, and enjoy the chaos that these things create. So we got a bit of a controversial choice with this one. I imagine a lot of people out there would probably not tame this and drop this in at 8th place, but hey, I like these. I do. I really do enjoy a roll rat. I think they're so overlooked. It's not a number 1 winner, but I'm going to put it in number 2. Hot damn, over a fasola and an anky. But I've got to. I've got no choice. But I like these things. I'm happy with 2nd place. Let's keep it there. So what are we going to get as our 1st place winner? I really hope we do get something decent for it. I'm kind of worried we're going to end up getting a dodo at this rate. But no, we're getting a parasaur. Oh, what is this list becoming? Hey, parasaur is parasaur. Very early game tame. Probably one of the very first things you'll tame on Aberration. Being simple to bowler and knock out with a club and craft its saddle pretty easy. It's your go-to creature for getting you a starter mount, gathering berries early on, and that's about all you'll do with it unless you're on PvP, where you'll find its turret system is perhaps one of the most valuable things you'll need for any base. Able to select between players, tamed or wild, it'll detect and warn you if anything's within region, depending on what range setting you put this on. Don't forget to keep these fed though, because they do consume more food whilst in turret mode, and they do have the ability to ward off smaller creatures as well, something I guess that's kind of overlooked. I don't really use that feature though myself, and again, it is a starter dino. There's no way this thing can get 1st place. It has to go in at 8th place. I'm okay with that. It feels like a fair place depending on if you're playing PvP or PvE. So in it goes. And is it going to happen? Are we actually going to get the dodo at 1st place? Come on. Come on, winner. Is it? Oh! Jeez, man. Well, we just skipped past the rock drake. We just skipped past the dodo. We almost ended up with a dodo at 1st place. Oh, we got a purlovia, man. Bro, all these cool, unique, aberrant creatures, and this is the list that we're given. I mean, I don't even like flipping purlovia, man. Nobody tames it. Yeah, it's okay to perhaps dig underground and use as some hidden vault storage, but then again, you've got a Reaper to do that. Why on earth would you prioritize a purlovia over a Reaper? Okay, it's a lot easier to tame. On PvE though, there is really no need to tame these things. You can't saddle them, you can't ride them. Walls can't make these things rideable, for crying out loud. But apparently, it's the number 1 choice if you want to play Aberration. Come on. The first failed list we got, definitely, without a doubt. Number 1 spot, no. There's so many cool other aberrant creatures, rock drake, reapers, Karkinos, that you're going to want to tame on this map. But hey, rules are rules. This is the blind ranking that we chose, and I hope you're going to enjoy the next one, because I bet you can bet what that's going to be. So until then, my name's Raasclark. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. And as always, peace out.